Hey guys, it's Kovu. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are doing a facecast tutorial. This is the first ever facecast that I've done and I was absolutely mortified. So first of all, I'm putting my hair up. I think I just put it into a ponytail in this. It's just to get it all out of the face. If you know how to do like slick backs or French braids, that's probably a lot better. I do not know how to do either of those, so I'm just chucking it behind my head and putting a wig cap on and hoping for the best. Next step is to wrap your head in cling film. I wrapped like the very around of my head just because I didn't know how far back I wanted to go with my face cast yet. If you're not going all the way back, you can stop at a certain point, but I just wanted to make sure that I had everything wrapped just in case I did decide I wanted to do like a full 360. I'm then using eyelash glue just to make sure that the cling wrap sticks to the sides of my face. You don't need to do that. You can always stick it down with the Vaseline in a bit, but I just wanted to make sure that it was extra stuck and to protect my ears. I then tried to use this like soap styler brow stick to like lay my brows flat, but that didn't really work. I never used this product before. I just thought if I could get them like lifted and flat, it would be a lot better and have less of a chance of the plaster sticking to them, but it didn't really work. So yeah, would not recommend this. If you know how to do the glue method like the drag queens and stuff know how to do, definitely try to do that. I don't know how to do the glue method, so I ended up just using the Vaseline. Then I made sure to have a last drink of my water. Make sure you are hydrated because this is going to be sealing your face in, so you want to make sure that you've eaten and that you are hydrated because you will not be able to move for a while. I then took this tub of Vaseline and I just applied it everywhere. I was quite scared to do this face cast, so I went really hard with the Vaseline. I would not recommend that. It became an issue later and you'll see, but yeah, you don't need a super thick layer. You just need a coating to make sure that the plaster doesn't stick. So I would say a thinner layer is probably better. Once my face was nice and covered in Vaseline, I did also put the Vaseline on the edges of the cling film just to make sure that they stuck. I then took my plaster like bandaging. Basically, this is just bandaging that has plaster already on it. I got this off of Amazon in a big pack. It was about £10, something like that, for loads of rolls, as you just saw. I still have a lot of these. I only maybe used 4 rolls for my entire face, so you don't need a lot, so do not worry. You can just buy 1 pack and that should do you for your whole face. I then started dipping them in the water, then placing them as flat as I could, and I made sure to kind of mush the plaster around and make sure that the plaster was getting like really saturated and soaked in to where it was positioned. So I just made sure to kind of fill in any of those little holes that you can see. In future, I would take a longer time doing this. I was kind of just throwing them on my face. I definitely would take the time to make sure that they are laid flat. I would probably do them in smaller sections, maybe cut them down a little bit to make sure that I'm getting them in the correct places. I just was really speeding through this process and I'm not sure why. I think I was just nervous. I wanted to get it over with, but yeah, I would really take your time and lay them as flat as you can to get the best results in your face cast. So as you can see, I did go over my mouth completely. However, I did not completely block off my nostrils and I did not completely block off my eyes. Most people making a face cast will do this. They will block off their nose and their eyes and their mouth, like with just leaving 2 little holes for the nostrils. I was too terrified to do that, so I did an alternate method instead. Once the face cast was hardened to the point where I could like confidently knock on it and it'd be like solid, I went to release it. I just pushed some air through my lips basically to release it. The issue that I was having with the Vaseline was I had put so much Vaseline on that as it dried, it started to come away from my face already. So I had a really easy time like slipping it around my face basically and just moving about, which is not really ideal for taking a face cast because you're not going to get the most accurate features. So if you are noticing it slip a lot, you might have just used a bit too much Vaseline. And getting it off can be kind of scary, but I promise you it is quite malleable still when you're taking it off. And don't worry about like the back being all scrappy, because you want your details in the front to be the best they can. So if you need to break the back to get it off, just break the back. As you see, I went in after I'd taken it off and filled in the eyes and the nose strips with just some more. I just laid them quite gently into the cast just to fill those in, because again, I wasn't confident at doing that while it was on my face. And please don't ever put yourself in a position where you're too scared to do that. If you're not comfortable putting it over your eyes or your nose, please don't. Just fill it in afterwards. I then mixed some plaster of Paris. I've never used plaster of Paris before. You are 100,000% supposed to measure this. Do not do what I did, where I just kept pouring it in. I ended up super thick. I ended up using my hand to scrape it into the face mold, and I think I made it way too hard. So yeah, please do measure it out when you're doing the plaster. I then Vaselined up the inside of the face cast. Again, I went too ham with the Vaseline. I needed to chill out with the Vaseline, because this also messes up the future steps as well. So just put a really thin layer, guys. I promise you don't need to lather it up. You will make life a lot harder for yourself. So as you can see here, I am pouring that in. That is extremely thick plaster. It did not need to be that thick. I'm just using my fingers though to make sure that I'm getting it into all of the nooks and crannies, and also using the end of that paintbrush there to make sure that I'm pushing it out. I also give it a bit of a tap and a shake to try and get as many air bubbles out as I can, because we obviously don't want air bubbles if we can help that. And then I just let it sit in this like supported box until it was dry, which took about 2 days for me. Next, I'm just peeling the bandages off. I used some scissors. I thought I was going to need the box cutter, but it ended up just peeling off really nicely because I had put so much Vaseline on it, which again ended up being an issue when it comes to the sanding portion. But yeah, there's some cling film still stuck in mine, but again, it's not going to be perfect. This was my first attempt, and I was just more bothered about getting the general shape of my face down. But if you do want it more accurate, please take your time during these steps and get it like as accurate as you can. So as you can see, I'm noticing that there is a lot of Vaseline left over, so I'm taking this scrapey tool, trying to scrape off as much Vaseline as I can in between steps. Where it gets lighter is where I was able to get through that layer of Vaseline, and I ended up just taking out a lot of my chiseling tools and just kind of chiseling away to try and get as much detail as I could into the face cast, essentially. It's not perfect, but I know where my eyes are, I know where my nose is, I know where my mouth is, and that's better than me using a generic shape. I'm using this for special effects and not anything super detailed, so I didn't really mind that much. But if you need it more detailed, yeah, just please take your time in each step and be a lot more accurate than I was. So I am just using some wood glue to seal my face cast in. As you can see, it's a lot lighter than it was in the previous clips. That's the layer that I managed to get through the Vaseline layer. The darker bits still do have some Vaseline on, so that, again, that's my complete fault. I'm just using a like regular makeup sponge to dab this on in thin layers. I did about 5 layers total. It did start to peel after layer 2. So layer 1 started peeling, and then I put layer 2 on, it started peeling, and then layer 3 it stopped peeling and everything kind of sucked itself into the mask. So yeah, I know a lot of people use something called gesso to prep it, so if you can find gesso, I would recommend prepping the surface for the glue. But I promise after about 3 layers it stops peeling and it does stick to the mask itself. I've had no issues with it coming off at the moment, and it is very solid, so it's your kind of preference. But yeah, so this is what the face mask ended up coming out like. It's very shiny, it's very solid. Obviously mine is very rough, it has a lot of divots and dinks and things, but I can see where my nose is, I can see where my mouth is, and I can see where my eyes are, and that is kind of what I needed out of this mask for the type of SFX that I do. So yeah, I hope this helped you guys if you were wondering how to make your own face cast at home. It was relatively cheap and inexpensive for me to do. It cost me about £15 total, and yeah, I would highly recommend anyone doing SFX do this. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Kovu out. Bye.